My name's Liam Romain, and I was born in November 1999 at the age of 0. I was born in Ireland, in Tralee Hospital, and it was currently when my parents were living over there because they were together with my mum and dad, and there was a accident which happened, which means that I was born 12 weeks premature. So that was quite a disturbing time for obviously my mum and I, because we didn't know whether it was going to work out okay or not, pretty much. So I spent quite a long time inside the hospital in the incubator, basically fighting for my life pretty much, not knowing whether I'd be able-bodied or yeah. So it was quite a scary time, but so yeah, I was obviously in there for a long time, and then eventually I obviously got let out, which much to my mum's relief, I was okay, but still had to monitor me, as you say, to see that everything was okay. So yeah.
And then quite quickly you moved back to the UK, didn't you?
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that and where you moved to.
Yeah, so we moved to Basildon when I was about, I think, 1 year of age, and I continued to live there for about 11 years of my life until I was about 11. But yeah, I moved to Basildon, and then we moved to a place called Church Road, which is where I went to school down there.
And why did you move back to Basildon? What was it about there that you came back to?
I think more so my nan and granddad and most of the family lived there at the time. My auntie Gwen as well, which lived there as well.
So your mum grew up in Basildon?
Yes, she did, yeah. Yeah, she grew up there and has a lot of fond memories there, I assume so as well.
Can you tell me a bit about your kind of early memories of Basildon?
Yeah.
And your sort of childhood. What, did you sort of have siblings kind of with you, or did you, what school did you go to? What did you do kind of for fun, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I'm technically an only child. I do have 2 half brothers that are from my dad's side, but we used to have them come round every other weekend when they were younger. So I had them to talk to and almost play with and stuff like that. But for the most part, I was on my own. So I like to make lots of friends, and yeah. So I went to play school in Basildon, which is where I've met my friend Liam Burnham. Quite ironic, the same name as Liam, where we became best friends. And then we ended up going to the same primary school as well. So it was really good because he lived across the street, and we was always going out together on our scooters, absolutely everywhere we could. And yeah, I've loads of fond memories of going down the town, just exploring it here, there and everywhere, over Gloucester Park. And yeah, it was really, really great. A lot of my fond memories would be at my nan and granddad's. I was always going down there all the time. I'd have a lot of sleepovers. Near enough every weekend I could get down there, I'd love to go and see them. And I just spent my time there watching Pingu as a little kid. I used to absolutely love that programme. And Dumb and Dumber as well. I think that I've watched that probably over 200 times down there. They're pretty unsure of how I've watched it that many times. But yeah, I used to love going down there and spending time there. We'd always go out to Gloucester Park because that was right next to the where they lived, and just spend days out there just walking round, walking over to what was the new Olympic training park, which got put up there. So yeah, we used to just stroll around there for hours and hours. Yeah.
And then I remember you saying about the time when you thought that the lake was the ground, and
oh yes.
So you tell me a bit about that.
Oh, it was so we went to Castle Park, which is in Colchester, which is where my cousin and my auntie lives. And my mum had just recently bought me some new clothes. So I was strutting around the park, having the time of my life, under my nan's supervision, and all of a sudden I thought that the lake was a path, because it had loads of moss over it and it looked the exact same colour as the grass. And I went straight under. Completely submerged myself, and my nan was apparently panicking because obviously I didn't come back up, and all of a sudden I came back up and I was absolutely drenched. So all my new clothes were completely ruined, and I remember Uncle Andrew coming to pick us up in his old car, and just having to wrap a towel around me, and me being an absolute fool and falling in.
I can imagine it was really smelly as well.
Oh, it was really not nice. It was all like algae, and gosh knows what was in there. Could be droppings of anything. But every time I go over there now, I reminisce on that time of just where it was. It was just completely freak accident, really. Just didn't expect that to happen at all.
So and then thinking about just school life in Basildon, can you just reflect a bit on what that was like for you?
Yeah. So obviously I went to Willows Primary School, which was right next to my house, so it wasn't a very long walk to there. And I have quite fond memories of the Willows compared to secondary schools and stuff, because it's where I made most of my friends that I still talk to today even. So that's where I met Liam in play school, but then we obviously went together, so we knew each other, so we could go and play out in the playground together. But yeah, I'd done a lot of things at that school. I started doing guitar lessons there. That was when I started enjoying the guitar. We used to do a lot of balloon races there as well, which were you just let your balloon go and you attach something to it and see where it goes to in the England and see if you get a reply from it. But yeah, playing out on the playground, we used to play catch outs and stuff like that. So every single lunch we'd always get a tennis ball, and there'd be a line at the top and a line at the bottom, and whoever caught it would get the other person out. And we'd always end up losing the tennis ball every time. It would go straight over the top of the building and never be seen again. So we used to have to get a new one every single time. Yeah, it's pretty much, yeah.
And then with secondary school, what was that like for you?
Yeah, so I went to De La Salle, which was actually right next to Willows Primary School, and it was a strict Catholic school. So it was quite a big change up from going from quite a laid back primary school. Also, my mum actually worked at that school as well, so that was quite weird. I remember getting I think it was a detention for something really silly. But I remember sitting in the detention thing, worrying gutless about my mum seeing me in this classroom on my own. And lo and behold, she did walk past, because she was in the classroom next door, and she saw me sitting there. And yeah, I did not get... I got told off quite a bit when I got home, so things related from school to home life, because she knew what was going on. But yeah, De La Salle, it was quite a different atmosphere there. You had to say prayers every time you started your form class. They didn't take any rubbish from you at all if your homework wasn't in detention straight away. But it was quite hard adjusting to that, because a lot of people can be, not everyone's nice that's there, you start getting your whereabouts of people. I walked obviously from my house because it wasn't too far. But it was down a very long, skinny alleyway, probably the longest alleyway I've seen in my life. And it was just crowded full of people, and you got people here, there and everywhere that are barging past you when you're a little year 7. You're a bit intimidated by bigger people. We went on a few school trips when I went to that school. We went to a day trip to France, where we went to a bakery. We went to a really big shopping centre, which was almost like Westfields in London. I remember walking around that for hours. And then we went to the beach. So, and we also went Colchester Zoo as well. So there was quite a few trips that I remember today from that school. So although sometimes you regret stuff in school, but I actually really enjoyed some of those trips. So yes, going to their school was quite good.
And then thinking about trips and kind of going to different places. I know that obviously you were born in Ireland.
Yes.
And then you used to go back and visit a fair bit, didn't you? So do you just want to share some of your memories about that?
Yeah, so we used to go back probably near enough once a year, maybe even twice a year sometimes, because my dad's family are over there. And we used to go to one of the main places I remember is Basildon, which is a beach that we always used to go to, and it had ruins of an old sort of castle or an old sort of bit of architecture on the side of a sort of a cliff peak almost. And we always used to go up there and either get an ice cream or eat some chips or sit up there. And there was a lot of caves that had been almost, corroded into the rock, which I always used to look at and think it was cool to go down there. It's never allowed down there, of course, because, health and safety and stuff. It's like you don't want a kid running into a cave, things could fall off. But yeah, so trips to the beach were always a lot of fun. We always used to revisit, obviously, Tralee, where I was born, the actual town itself. There's quite a nice few places there to eat and to walk around as well. Probably about maybe 6 years ago, we revisited it. Probably longer than that actually. We'd done the Ring of Kerry, which took us around various places that I haven't been into Ireland. It was lovely weather, big mountains, big roads that go around. You've got lots of scenic scenery. But I haven't been back to Ireland probably since then, really. Yeah.
And being kind of both English and Irish, obviously you were born in Ireland, but you've grown up in England. What's that like? If England and Ireland were playing in rugby or something like that, like, who would you support?
Oh, I'm a bit of a cheeky one. I'd probably support both. Just so if either win, I'm still winning. If you get what I mean. But yeah, it is quite weird being both, because on my driving licence it says Irish, but I've obviously got an English passport, so it's a bit weird. Some people are just like, oh wow, it says Ireland on your thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm actually from Ireland, and they're like, you don't have an accent. I'm like, you don't need to have an accent to be from somewhere. But yeah, it is a weird thing, because a lot of people don't recognise that you're from a different country when you are. So and obviously all my dad's family are Irish, so yeah, it is quite a weird thing to think about.
And you mentioned about obviously the beautiful countryside in Ireland. Do you prefer country, or do you prefer city? Do you prefer like mountains or ocean? Like what's your preference?
Basildon was quite built up because it was a new town. Everything in the town was giant concrete structures, the giant tower block of flats that was there. So going to Ireland was quite different because there's nothing there. There really isn't. There's just literally countryside everywhere. I'd say I quite like cities and big built up areas because I think it's cool. It's always busy. Everyone's always rushing and everyone's got their life to live. Everyone's got a different life. Someone's rushing off to see someone. Someone's rushing off to their job. But I quite like the quiet of the countryside because you can go for walks across fields and stuff. So I'd say I like them both equally as much, but I think I'd have a balance of both. Otherwise, I quite like going to countryside. I quite like going to the city. So yeah, pretty much.
And then just thinking about, so that was obviously kind of you grew up in Basildon pretty much, and then can you just sort of reflect on what it was like? You eventually moved to Colchester, didn't you?
Yes.
And sort of tell us, how old were you at that point?
Yeah.
And then what was that like for you moving from Basildon to a completely new town?
Yeah, so moving was I was absolutely terrified. I remember crying because I really didn't want to go because Liam Burnham was in Basildon. We didn't go to the same secondary school. He went to a different one, but we always used to see each other. And moving that big distance would mean that I'd see him less, and I'd have to get to travel to see him. But yeah, I moved to Colchester when I was around 11, because I think I was in year 8 at the time. So moving to this house was quite scary. We didn't know really anyone, but the one benefit was I moved right next to my cousin Ben, which were like best friends. So me and him used to go out on straight away. Used to go out on adventures on our bikes, just every single weekend out. And yeah, I miss doing all those bike rides, because it really was. I really did enjoy it. But yeah, that meant obviously moving to school, changing to a new school, and not knowing anyone in there. Ben was, I think he was 2 years older than me, so he was in year 10, 11 when I started. Obviously we're a complete different age group, so you don't hang around sometimes with the younger age groups, because you're much younger, and people notice that and they're like, oh, what are you hanging around with? It's like, it's my cousin. But yeah, getting on that school, I wasn't too fond of it really. I didn't get on very well, which had to lead me moving to another school, which was a lot better. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but I was a lot happier there than I was in Philip Morant. So yeah, that was good. But yeah, I made some more friends at Stanway, but some of them I still see today. So that's good. That's good news. Yeah.
And then, so did you start part way through the year? You didn't start as like with everyone else at Philip Morant. You kind of came in as kind of the new boy.
I think that was one of the biggest things that kind of made it awkward of moving to that school, because I was completely in the middle of the year. And then when people see like someone that's round you started year 3, they're just like, oh, new person. And a lot of people don't make much of an effort to even talk to you, sort of thing. And even if you try to talk, they don't. They're just a bit like, they've got their own friendship group, get on with it, sort of thing. The similar thing happened in Stanway. I started halfway through as well, but everyone was a lot more friendly, and it was a lot more easier to make friends. But I think that made a big impact. Another one of the problems was when I started in Philip Morant, they put me in quite a low set for my classes, so that affected obviously what group I was in, and then that would make my grades drop, because they just put me in a set because there was room in that class. So that really affected when I moved into Stanway. They put me in a lower set because they realised I was in there, but I wasn't not academically smart. It was just obviously shy, and you just need a little bit of guidance sometimes. So yeah, it was quite hard.
Did you miss Basildon for a while?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was mainly my grandparents, pretty much, because I was used to see them. And my auntie Gwen, that used to live there as well, she had to move to a care home because she had a bit of a fall. But she moved to Colchester as well in a care home. But yeah, I did miss Basildon quite a bit. It was all I've ever known really, and it's a completely new city. Yeah, but it made it a lot easier, Ben being there to go out with, because it's always good when you got a best friend that's a family member as well. It's quite nice.
And how long do you think it sort of took before you start to feel kind of at home at Colchester?
I reckon until, sounds weird, probably until I moved out of school, because you're only limited to your school, and if you don't really enjoy school that much, you're not really feeling comfortable with where you're at. But yeah, after that, it's all I know now, pretty much. I do love it there. But yeah.
And so then, obviously you started work, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
So, tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I did used to work at Next, and I ended up speaking to a customer there, and he asked me what I was doing at college, if I was doing anything, and I said I was doing engineering. And he said, "Oh, great." I said, "I work for a company that's engineering." I was like, "Oh," I said, "Great." He said, "You looking for an apprenticeship at all?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "I've been looking all the time. I'd love to get one." And he said, "Oh, okay." He went, wrote his number down, and gave it to me, and went, "Give this a phone, and we'll see if you can get you one." So I phoned him up, and got a job. So it is strange how things like that can occur, but it shows that obviously when you're working, you can still make other relationships with customers and stuff. And yeah, I've worked there since 2018 October, and it's now 2021 August. So I'm coming to the end of my apprenticeship year, and then I've got until next year until I finish my level 4, which is H&C. So I've done a level 3 there, and I've done a level 4. So it's helped me out tremendously, because obviously education wise I didn't do very well with my school. I got my English and my maths, but to get where I am now, I'm quite happy how it's turned out, really. So yeah, I really enjoy it. Yeah.
And have you kind of, I guess you've learned a lot, you've developed a lot.
Yeah.
Not only in your kind of the technical aspects of engineering, but also probably in your confidence and in your personality.
Yeah. Going to college in Colchester, I did a level 2 to start off with. It was all machining and making tools and making different things from drawings, which I really, really enjoyed. But it's sometimes hard. Sometimes they teach you things that you can't take directly into the workplace. So a lot of people do things differently. There's not always one way of doing something. So obviously going into that workplace, they had a workshop where they make things. But yeah, that really helped going into there, because I could say, "Yeah, look, I know how to use this. I can make this for you." So I wasn't actually at the complete bottom level of it. It was quite a good thing. But yeah, I've learnt numerous things there. Just working relationships, talking to design people of how the machines I make actually work. Working under pressure. We're quite busy at the moment, so I've had to do quite a lot of hours to get it to work, which is quite stressful, because obviously I'm still an apprentice. I'm still learning, but that helps in a way, because you get to learn to work under pressure, and you've got help of everyone else, because they're sort of a team. You're not on your own. But yeah, I have learned quite a bit there. Yeah.
And for anyone that was thinking about maybe doing an apprenticeship, maybe in engineering or something else, what would you give them sort of any advice? What would you say to them?
I'd say try and get into it as quick as you can. I wish I didn't really have a look at an apprenticeship when I first started college. I just thought about just studying, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, really. So I'd advise that if you're really looking to do it, I'd get into it as quick as you can, because it's one of the best things you can do. You're getting paid while you do it. You really can't complain, really. If you're getting your education funded and everyone's trying to help you out, it's a really, really good opportunity, no matter what you do. Engineering, health and beauty, whatever you do, teaching, I'd advise you get into it, because it really is a good scheme that they've got going there. Yeah.
When you were in Colchester, you became really unwell, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Just probably early part of 2020, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was completely out of nowhere. I was doing quite well. I didn't feel unwell at all. Hadn't been ill for a while. And then I think it had to do with me going into college, because I can't think of anywhere else I could have caught it from. But I came out of a big sort of swelling lump there, and I immediately thought mumps, because I'd seen it before and thought it looked quite funny. And a big achy lump, like a big, almost like a toothache, horrible ache. And then we had some tests at the doctors, and they said we'll send it off and just stay at home, because you could spread it around. And then a couple of days later, I woke up with a headache from hell. I really, really had not had a headache like it. I couldn't move at all. And my mum, I remember her phoning an ambulance, and I was like, no, don't phone the ambulance. I'm absolutely fine, because I'm quite blasé when it comes to being ill. I'm like, I'm fine. I go to work. I'll go to college. Not a problem. But I really couldn't move. That's the first time I've been able to move. And then, yeah, they came round, took my temperature. I will be all right. Take some paracetamol. And then the next day, the exact same thing happened again, but probably 10 times worse. So I got rushed to hospital, and they tested me with suspected mumps, pretty much. And then I had to be put into a ward on my own. I was almost isolating on my own. Wasn't allowed to leave to go to the toilet. Wasn't allowed to leave at all. And they pumped me up on, put a drip in me or something, pumped me up on some drugs to deal with the pain, because it was just like my head was just swelling.
So did you say they diagnosed you in the end with mumps meningitis as well, wasn't it? It was quite serious, wasn't it?
Yeah, so apparently it started off with mumps, and mumps can cause meningitis. And they were one of the doctors was a bit unsure of it, and no, you don't have it. And my mum said, you've definitely got it. So I had to have a lumbar puncture, a few other tests, and it came back that I had mumps meningitis, which is a combination of the two. So that's, major inflammation of my head. That's probably the massive headache. And mumps, I had we were going to bed one night, one this side, that went down completely. And as I went to bed the next night, all of the family left, and I had a matching one on the other side. And I was just like, what is going on? I said I was completely fine the other week, and now I'm off. Absolutely, I've never felt so rough in my life. Yeah,
Were you worried about yourself?
Yeah. It's the first time that I've been sitting there. I'm like, I really don't know what's going to happen with this, because I haven't done anything to really warrant it. I'm, relatively healthy. And I remember just sitting there at like 2-3 in the morning. At night, and just everyone being put into a ward where they eventually thought that I didn't have mumps, so they moved me into one of those wards where there's loads of people on it, and everyone around me probably got another 70 years on me, probably about 90, and they all looked very, very critically ill, and there's me sitting there, 20 years of age at the time, just like, what have I got myself into? And then to be told in the morning that I do have mumps and I have to go back into the isolation thing was just a complete shock. Yeah, it was really, really not a good time. And at the time, it was when coronavirus was being broadcast on the TV that it had started in China, and it could possibly make its way over to Europe and then into the United Kingdom. And we were all like, it's not going to happen. Just like the Ebola outbreak, which we did have. We didn't think it would make it as far as China, but it did. So that was a bit of a good job that it happened at that time rather than a couple of months later, because we don't know, there might not have been enough room in the hospital, or we don't know what could have happened really. So yeah, it was quite a scary time. I don't want to look back on, don't want to think about.
Sorry for bringing that up.
No, it's fine. No, but yeah, it's but it shows that anything can happen at any time, pretty much. Because I didn't expect that at all. I'm not usually an ill person.
Has it impacted your thinking in any way about life, or is it?
I think so. Probably at that time I was probably a bit down as well. I don't know why. I was just like, I didn't really want to do much. But after that, it was like I said, it shows that no matter what you do, you can still have fallbacks and setbacks. But yeah, it's probably made me appreciate life more a bit, because I don't want to go back to that sort of place where you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. You go from walking about to just, I can't move out of my bed because I'm in that much pain. And I remember even going on I think it was towards the last day of me staying there. We went to a Costa, and they were like, "Will you be okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll be fine." I remember getting there and I was like, "I'm really not okay." So I can't sit in this room with all the noise. It just affects you so much. Like hand-eye coordination went out the window. I remember I didn't go on my phone once, which is unusual for me. I didn't go on my phone once because I didn't have the energy or even the hand-eye coordination to pick it up. I remember like you passed it to me or so, and I'd be here and I'd just completely miss. And I was like, whoa, I've never been like that before. Just no energy at all, which was quite scary because going from a job where hand-eye coordination is quite a good thing when you're working on machines and machinery and lathes and mills, to I can't pick up my phone.
Did it take you a while to recover?
Yeah, it did. I think I had 3 weeks to a month off of work, which they were very accommodating over, and I think I went back a bit too early because I was eager to get back because I don't like not working. But I came up with another lump in my throat, which it turns out it was a secondary infection from it, where it can be you've tried to recover too quickly, and I had to have more time off due to that. So yeah, recovery was a bit just sleep, don't do anything until your head sort of the swelling goes down. Recovery was a bit weird.
And would you say that you're kind of back to full strength now?
Yeah, I'd say, yeah. After it, I must admit, a few weeks after, even after that secondary infection, I still didn't feel the same. I just felt just drained. And after that infection, it was just, I had so many tests done again. And it was like, oh no, I'm going to be back to where I was. I don't want to go back here. Like everyone was like accommodating, but I just didn't want to be stuck in one room all day. Not being able to leave to the toilet, it's not very nice having to go to the toilet in a little cup thing. Yeah, crazy.
And I know I kind of asked you earlier about if you had a time machine and you could take us back to any point in your life, where would you sort of take us? Who would you have us meet? And your reflection was really interesting. Do you want to share that?
Quickly, I think if to go back, I'd like my girlfriend to meet my auntie, which passed away, just to show her that, because just where I am now, pretty much, because she passed away probably a good eight years ago now. So that would be something that I would maybe like to do, to go back and show her, just let her meet her, pretty much, just to. But personally, I don't think I'd want to go back to any time period at all. Now is where I'm happy. Done a lot of activities now. We're never not doing anything, even when we haven't got anything going on. We're eager to go out, just explore everywhere, pretty much. It's got to the point where we've been out so much that we're actually sick of some places because we've been there so many times.
What are some of the places that you visited in, say, the last year?
In the last year, we went to Edinburgh for a couple of days. I'd never been there before, but I've always wanted to go there. And it surpassed the expectations that I had for it. We had beautiful weather. Explored the castle. We went to the Botanic Gardens. Just everywhere there was nice. Everyone was friendly, and the food was nice. It wasn't too expensive in comparison to like London. You'd pay like £8, £7, £6 for a pint of beer. In Edinburgh, it's like a couple of £1. But it really is a cool place to go. We've been to places like Norwich a few times. I like Norwich a lot. Very historic and nice to walk around. We've recently been there to stay over for a weekend, and went canoeing, which went relatively well if someone steered properly or used the oar properly. But yeah, I love canoeing. I'd like to get myself one maybe and go to these places with one, just to explore more of these places.
What are some of the other places you'd like to go to in the future?
I'd like to go maybe to the Lake District because we went there a couple of years back before Corona. But I'd like to go back there. I'd like to go and visit Loch Ness in Scotland because that looks really cool. You can get a day trip that goes out to it.
Do you believe there's a monster in Loch Ness?
I believe maybe in some point in time there was something like that, because I don't think, if someone would make something up like that, there probably was something that looked a bit like the Loch Ness monster. Maybe not as big, but I think it's more of the heritage in it behind it, and it attracts visitors and stuff to it. But yeah, I do reckon there's probably maybe a monster under it. We'll never know. We'll find out if we go. But yeah, there's not many other places in England. I'd quite like to go abroad and explore some places. I'd like to go to Germany because that's where my cousin currently lives. He's moved there, so we're going to hope to go there maybe this year. I'd like to drive to Nuremberg where the racetrack is, which is in Germany as well, but obviously we're going to get the plane over there this year. We're not going to drive.
You've got a bit of a thing about cars, haven't you?
Yeah, I do love cars. I've always loved them, literally ever since I was a kid. Always remember playing them all on the car mat to now. I was wishing my life away until I could drive, pretty much. Couldn't wait to turn 17 and just remember my mum going, "Don't wish your life away. You've got a little." I was like, "You could just skip till 17 and I'll be happy." But yeah, I love cars. So yeah, going to that racetrack would be a big thing of mine. I'd love to go and just see the cars go around it. So. But yeah,
what would be your dream car, Liam?
The dream car would be a Koenigsegg. It's a funny name, funny spelling. But they're a bit above my pay grade.
How much money would you need for one?
Like 3 million. Yeah, 3 million, which is quite a lot of money, and I'd probably struggle even if I had that money to spend. Well, I probably wouldn't. I'm not probably lying right now. I'd be like, spend. Buy it for a house. But yeah, I have so many cars. I'd have to have a big garage to have them all in.
So you love travelling and adventure.
Yes.
And cars are a real sort of passion for you as well. Any other things that you that you really enjoy? Enjoy
doing?
Yeah, pastimes or interests or
interests. I go bowling very regularly. We go once a week. Recently, we've been like twice a week, 3 times in 1 week. So we had to hold off a bit because that's one of my major hobbies.
What's your highest score in bowling?
145, which is all right, but it's not that good when you think about how much score you can actually get. You can get 300, so I'm nearly halfway to getting the max score you can get. But for playing it just averagely is all right. We've been to a lot of car festivals, so Goodwood we went to recently, and that was a big turnout. Really enjoyed that. It's a really good event. Yeah, just going out in my car as well. That's where my hobbies extend to, really.
I remember I asked you earlier what you find kind of calming or relaxing, and you were saying about driving.
Yeah, just driving in general calms me. Maybe not to work because it's very busy, but like just driving maybe at night, driving somewhere nice, just when it's not too busy. It's just, that's where I'm happy at, pretty much.
What is it about that you enjoy?
I don't know. It's maybe when you're on your own as well. You just I don't know, just chilling. Really, it's just you don't know where you're gonna go. It's just the thought of if I keep driving, I could go to Scotland right now. I could get a boat across and go anywhere I want. Just freedom, really. It's like you can do whatever you want, pretty much. So yeah, I really enjoy being able to go different places, really. It's where I'm happy.
So, is there anything else that you wanted to say about kind of your Basildon years or your Colchester years before we move on to the next section?
It's hard to really think sometimes because it was such a long time ago now, and I think about it. I'm 21 now. It's 10 years ago that I moved to Colchester.
Do you feel like a Tralee boy from Ireland, or do you feel like a Basildon boy from Essex, or do you feel like a Colchester boy from Essex?
Oh, it's hard to say because I remember Ireland fondly, but then Basildon I know inside and out. even when I don't remember it right now, as soon as I go back there, I know everywhere, know where to go, know all the streets, know where I used to go and play. But then Colchester's the same. I know everywhere in Colchester. So it's nice to have memories of, being where you know where you are.
What does it feel like when you go back to Basildon now?
It makes me sad in a way, because being younger, my grandparents being younger. But yeah, I do remember it fondly. But yeah, my friend Liam, obviously he still lives in the same house in the same area. So it's weird to go around there and notice that I was there when I was 10, in the same house. So that's nice. I can relate to that and still see him regularly, because we both drive. But yeah, I do enjoy going back there. Yeah.
Just want you to reflect on important people in your life that have made a positive impact.
My granddad is my main one that I think of all the time. Whenever I'm going through something tough like that, hospital, having meningitis and stuff, I always thought of him, because he's had cancer a few times, and he's just got through it. Whether it's radiotherapy, chemo, he's just got through it, and it's like, if I'm going through this, he's gone through that. It's like, it's just completely inspiring almost. So every time I'm doing something that I'm like, can't do it, I'm just like, well, my granddad will be able to do it, so why can't I do it, pretty much. So yeah, I always think of him whenever I'm going through something tough or hard. Yeah.
Have you got any phobias?
I hate needles. Cannot stand them. I'd rather jump off a cliff without a parachute than have a needle.
So we're talking injection.
Yeah,
like
injections,
syringe.
blood tests, just anything sharp entering my body I do not like. I don't know, I think it's probably because I had my tonsils out when I was younger. I think that was when it started, because they have to put you to sleep. And I've got marks even on my hands from where they tried to put it in my arm and try to put me to sleep. Yeah, never have needles. And then meningitis, just so many needles. And it doesn't matter how many you give me, I'll never go over it. Hate them. Passion.
Something you've learned in life?
Don't care what others think. It really doesn't matter sometimes. Like trying to please other people that don't need pleasing as well, if you know what I mean. Say like, yeah, over in school, like changing for someone else or peer pressure. I've never ever been one to fall for peer pressure ever. If I'm not doing it or I'm doing it, I'm going to do it, not if someone else tells me to do it. But yeah, it'd probably be just do you, and just don't try and please other people that you don't need to please, because sometimes it's not worth it, pretty much. Yeah.
And any thoughts and reflections when you look back over your life?
Any thoughts and reflections? I wish I did better in school with my grades and stuff, but I wouldn't say try and change anything, because I probably wouldn't be here I am now. So I reflect on my childhood and growing up, and I think I had a pretty good childhood. Holidays, spending time with family. I don't think of anything bad when I think of my childhood, which is a good thing. So yeah,
What are some of the holidays that you sort of most fond memories, or?
I say America was one of the best holidays I've been on. I really, really did enjoy it. It was great. We got an extra week at one of them because there was that volcano that went off. So we got trapped out there for another week. So we.
Was that the Iceland?
I think it was the Icelandic one. Yeah. The ash just covered.
So you trapped out there for
covered the
week.
airspace. Yeah. So they said you can't come back. You have to stay out there. So they put us up in a hotel for a week.
Were you excited about that?
Yeah, I was so happy. And my parents were like, oh no, we've got to get back to work. And they were like, nah, let's just embrace it. So we got another week of going doing stuff out there. So that is probably the most luckiest thing we've had, really. So yeah, all holidays. Been to Lapland as well. I remember that was great. Very cold. Very, very cold. But yeah, I just love travelling. Maybe that's where I got my love for travelling from, just going places. I just want to explore everywhere, really. Yeah.
And what are some of the films that you've loved or that have made a big impression on you?
Dumb and Dumber. Sense of humour. It is like totally my sense of humour. Watching it probably over 200 times, just I could watch it now and just burst out laughing. I don't know why. The sense of humour is just totally mine. It's silly, I guess. It's just I like it when people don't take things seriously, and it's just a total joke, pretty much. But yeah, that's one of my favourite films that I love.
What inspires you or lifts your spirits?
Well, obviously talking about my granddad, that inspires me to do things that, you know, that I don't particularly want to do, even when you got to do it. Lifting my spirits, probably stuff that, looking forward to stuff, like having something to work towards or look forward to, which at the moment we're going to book that Germany holiday. So that's going to be, I need something to almost work towards, otherwise I just feel like I'm working for nothing, sort of thing. I'm just saving money. But yeah, think about the future, and you know, you got to think about where you're going. Otherwise, there's no sense of direction. But yeah, I'd say holidays and just going out, thinking about what you do at the weekend, and you know, lifting spirits in terms of working and wanting to keep going.
And I remember earlier you were telling me something that really inspires you as well, like when people have got like really difficult hardships but they're sort of still, they're getting on with things, they're doing things. And
it's true though, isn't it? It's like if I'm able-bodied and I can just hop in the car and go somewhere, and you know, I don't see why everyone shouldn't do that. Really, there's so many things to explore. Why not go out there and explore it? If people can do it that don't have much or struggle to get out, or they've got limbs missing, that they're just inspiring to see someone that's, you know, got so little, or just to get out there.
You were telling me that you'd seen something about a guy that was having to do things just with his foot.
Yeah, he had no arms, and he was driving a car. He was going out with his friends. He was putting fuel in the car himself, and it's like, if people like that don't give up, then how does someone with more give up? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's just totally an inspiration. I'm always empathetic towards other people, always willing to help. But yeah, that's probably me, just as a person though. It's I understand, you know, what people have been through, and try and help out where I can, really.
I know you've kind of got a connection with animals as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I
love sort of creatures and animals.
I love any animals. Apart from, I like spiders, not the horrible ones that we get in our field. But yeah, I love animals, dogs, love the zoo. I'd like to think in another life I'd be able to work in a zoo, or, you know, as a vet or something like that. I'd like to help animals out. I probably struggle with putting them down, you know, when they're too ill because I feel too much empathy sometimes. I'll see an animal that's been hit by a car, and I'm like, it's maybe a bit sad. But yeah, I love all sorts of animals.
So thinking about, obviously, the past kind of almost 18 months that we've come through with COVID-19, and, you know, all the upheaval of that and the disruption of that, what's that been like for you?
It's been a strange one, because going from really active to not being able to do anything is quite hard, especially when I used to sit in my room all day on the computer, then decided I don't want to do that anymore, and then being told you can't go out is really, really weird. When you can't go to work, you can't go out and see your friends, you can't leave your area, otherwise you'll get told off or get a fine. It's just beyond me. It's really, really weird. Yeah, it's just been such a weird few couple of years. Talking about the looking forward to things, there was nothing to really look forward to. He was like, oh, I'm working. And that was probably one of the busiest times I've had of our work. And I'd work till 9 o'clock, like 8 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. And then be like, oh, what's today? Oh, it's Wednesday. I didn't even know it was Wednesday. It didn't matter if it was Wednesday or Friday, because what does it matter if it's Friday if you're just going to sit indoors? So I don't want to sit indoors, I want to go for a walk. So I'd say going for walks helped a lot, just around where I live, because it's quite rural, semi-rural, but going for walks all the time is brilliant. It's like we saw things that we'd never really even known was there. So that's probably helped us. So
there was a bit of discovery.
Yeah.
Even in like the hardships, there was a bit of discovery for you as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was terrible at all, because I really enjoyed going out. Because, you know, we wouldn't usually just go, let's go for a walk, like, at our house. We'd go, let's go somewhere else. So we just done a lot of discovering things, and yeah, it was all right, really. Yeah.
And what's your sort of outlook for going forward? I know we're still in kind of like, you know, the times of struggling to deal with COVID and stuff. What's your outlook for the planet, I suppose, going forward? How do you think it's going to work out? Do you think we're going to do okay? Do you think, you know, what's your...
I don't really know what's going to happen, because whether we're going to... all these restrictions are going to be the same. Are we going to go back into another lockdown? Although we've been told that we're not, it still could happen. I just hope that it doesn't go back to as bad as it was. But obviously we're in summer. When it goes to winter, it could completely change. So we don't know what's going to happen for Christmas. It could go to the thing again where we can't see anyone, and then get our hopes up, and then just get them absolutely shredded. But I just hope that it continues the way it is, with people being careful, and you know, I still wear my mask when I go in the shop. Still wear my mask when I wear my mask at work. Still, we have to, but we still stick by the rules. So let's hopefully everyone else does the same thing.
And just thinking about any achievements that you're proud of, or that you're really thankful for, what might some of those be?
I think just doing my job at the moment, I'm happy with what I've achieved. Actually completing my courses that I've done. A lot of people used to drop out or not do their work at all and leave halfway through the class. So I'm proud that I've actually... I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, the home stretch of this year that's coming, and it's just, yeah, I'm really happy that, always proud of myself for once, that I'm actually getting somewhere, and actually sticking with it and not changing direction. So yeah, I'd say that's one of my most proudest achievements, is sticking with it.
And then just thinking about your aspirations for your future.
Yeah.
You want to share a little bit about those, kind of thinking maybe 5-10 years ahead, or
yeah.
whatever. What are some of your aspirations?
Well, it's weird, because obviously we're in a new decade now. We're in 2021, so a lot of this decade is where major things are going to happen. So hopefully I'll have my own place in this decade, maybe kids, hopefully. New job, you know, where I'm not an apprentice, I'm actually working properly. Maybe have an apprentice, you know, teach an apprentice. It's weird to think about that could be the other way around one day. But yeah, I just want to keep working hard, and in this decade I want to hopefully achieve all three of those things: have a new job, have kids, have a house, somewhere to actually live, you know. But yeah, that's my sort of aspirations for the upcoming years. I'd say 21, just keep going, really, just stick at it. Get yourself an apprenticeship, keep going, don't drop out, and if you feel like you've got a change in direction, go for it. Because I could still change my direction now. I could completely go out of engineering, I could go into something else. So don't not do something because you don't think you can't, because you still can. So yeah, that's about it, really. Yeah.